What were the dumbest lies you believed when you were a kid? When I was a child, I got upset after a button came off of my shirt. My mother told me not to worry and that if I placed the button under a rock in the yard, the button fairy would replace it with a quarter. I believed it, and to my mother's dismay, she discovered I had pulled the buttons off of every shirt in my closet. To this day, 40 years later, shirt buttons can still be found under random rocks in my parents' backyard. I was 7 years old. One of my teachers wanted us to write a letter to a family member or friend or someone. I wrote the letter, got the envelope, got the stamp. My mom had worked at the county jail at the time and she suggested I write one of the inmates who never got mail. So I did. I wrote something along the lines of, "I'm sorry you're arrested but I hope you get out." I even signed it with my 7-year-old signature. While I was writing the letter my mom had left to get to the store. I asked my older brother what our address was because I needed to put a return address. He said, 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue, Washington, District of Columbia, 20500. For those that don't know, that's the address to the White House. I wrote it on the letter and put it with the mail my mom was sending out. Mind you, I grew up in Michigan and never left the state, but I wasn't smart. Years later I went to pick my mom up from work and one of the COs called me Mr. President and I asked why he said that. He mentioned the letter I wrote years prior and how it was a joke in the jail any time my mom mentioned me. When my sister and I were kids, our mom lied and told us that she was a Grammy-nominated and winning singer. She said that all of the trophies were in our attic, knowing that neither of us would ever go in and check for them. My sister and I bragged to all of our friends about it for years, only to discover that our mom isn't a very good singer at all. We've held this lie over her head for nearly 20 years now, so this past Christmas, we gifted her with a fake Grammy that has her name engraved and her favorite music category citing her as the winner of it. She laughed until she cried. Sometimes when we asked for McDonald's my dad would say no but turn in anyway and say the car was doing it by itself. I believed him every time and thought the car was just my homie. My parents convinced us that the person knocking on our door on weekend nights when we were asleep was our Uncle Shiloh stopping to say hello. We don't have an Uncle Shiloh. It was the pizza guy. When I was a kid my dad told me it cost 25 cents to change the radio station to keep me from fucking with the radio in his car. I believed that until I was 14. My dad told me that the reason why police officers spend so much time at donut shops is because the shop owners actually need them there to shoot the holes in the pastries to provide them with the classic donut shape. I found out this was a lie when my dad caught me trying to get behind the counter at Dunkin' Donuts one time because I wanted to see the shooting. I was told by my dad, when I was around 8 to 9, that the people at the sewerage plant have been examining your poop and need you to eat more fiber. Edit, wrong age. Eating too much sugar will glue my ass cheeks together. Thanks mom. One time when I was 5 to 6 I asked my brother how French fries were made and he told me, they inject mashed potatoes into the skins of the fries with a syringe. I believed that until I saw my mom cooking home fries for breakfast one morning when I was 8. My grandmother told me that pinching gave cancer. I got pinched once at recess and yelled at the person because I thought they were going to give me cancer. My mom rented a never-ending story and dad told me if I tried to watch it I'd have to sit there forever because it never ended. I remember being thankful for my dad's warning and wondering why mom would do that to me. My dad told me he didn't have a middle name because his parents couldn't afford one. I believed this for a shockingly long time. I had no reason to doubt him and I knew his family was poor. The button on your armrest on airplanes is the eject button. I found out it reclines your seat embarrassingly late. The rumble stripes on the side of the road are there to help people who are blind drive. When I was 6 my parents told me that when you flush from an airplane toilet, the waste gets dumped mid-air into the ocean. I believed that and told all my friends. Parents then told me they were joking and I became the class fool. My older brother pranked me once. I had watched a kids' TV show, I think it was The Electric Company, that featured a guest star who was a tap dancer. My brother convinced me that tap dancers made their tapping sounds, not with their feet, but with their mouths. I spent the next several weeks trying to tap dance with my mouth noises before my mom made me quit. That the draining sound of the water in the bathtub was a monster that would suck you in as well. A lie made to get me out of the bath. That guacamole was ground up guacamoles. Dad's a great lol. The ice cream van played music to let everyone know he was out of ice cream. That the hazard button in a car would blow the car up. When I was a kid, I asked my dad if reading enough books really could give you telekinesis. Matilda, he said yes. I spent many years after that thinking I just wasn't doing enough. That if you die in your dream, you die in real life. I believed that girls pooped and peed out of their butthole. When I was 16, I asked my older sister, when you go pee, how do you keep the turds from sliding right out at the same time? I was in on this lie between my mom and younger sister. My sister was about 5 years old at the time, and my mom convinced her that Benadryl was truth serum. My mom would threaten to give it to my sister if she knew she was lying. It was so hilarious, but my sister seriously believed it and would get upset. If you swallowed the black watermelon seeds, a watermelon would grow in your belly. You know how Barbie feet are on tippy toes so they are shaped to fit into a high heel shoe? Well, when I was a kid, I thought that when girls grew up into women that their feet would be shaped like that. Despite the fact that I lived in a house with 4 grown women, none of whom had Barbie feet. My mom told me my birthmark was a coffee stain from when she accidentally spilled coffee on me as a baby. I believed it till I was like 11. Walt Disney invented color. Watching a black and white show, I thought everyone from the 50s and lower had lived in black and white. I asked my father, who invented color? Dad looked at me dead serious and said, Walt Disney. I believed it far too long. My granddad would tell me that the buttons, switches to turn on the interior lights in his car, were actually buttons for ejector seats. I would be scared to go anywhere near them in case I accidentally yeeted myself out of his Ford Focus. He was a funny dude. As a kid, I had a strangulated hernia, which left me with 1 testicle. My dad told me if I ever had kids they would be all boys or all girls cause each testicle is for each sex. Believed it for years. My sister told me that if you count all the stones of Stonehenge you will die. I still don't know how many stones there are in Stonehenge. Edit. I just called and told this to my sister, and she just laughed for about 2 minutes. I once thought academic scholarships were only given to dumb students so that some of them could still attend college. I even told my older brother that he was so stupid, he had to get scholarships to go to college. He went to the Ivy League. That women's periods stop in water to avoid sharks smelling it. That our entire house was covered by cork-sized security cameras and that my parents could see my every move. Dad told us his dried apricots were monkey ears so we wouldn't eat them. This isn't a lie, but when I was a kid I had no idea how turn signals worked and just thought the cars always knew exactly where we were going. My mom told me while I was helping mix some batter or something, that if I changed from mixing clockwise to counterclockwise the ingredients would unmixed. I believed this for way too long and still only mix clockwise. One time I was at my dad's, parents separated, and him and a friend were hanging outside sipping beers and smoking cigarettes while I was decapitating dandelions with my sweet-ass plastic ninja sword. My dad never let me have soda when I was a kid. His friend left and my dad went inside to do dishes. I saw a 7-Up can on the deck table and sprinted towards and took a huge swig. Turns out they had been asking and putting their cig butts in there. I run inside and throw up and my dad goes, "What happened, what happened?" I lied and said nothing, but he figured it out. So, he told me all the soda he buys tastes like that even if they are unopened. I believed him for a few years till I was like 9. When I was a little fellow my parents used to told me when you smoke you'll die instantaneously. Unfortunately they forgot this at a campfire organized by our former neighborhood and smoked a cig. I remember I was desperately trying to stop them and cried all the time, because I thought they're both about to die. My dad told me he was color blind to the extreme when I was 8. The sky is green, the grass is blue. Go was red, stop was green. The ultimate, white people look black and black people look white. My mom made him fix that last statement quick when I asked her, "Mommy, do I look black to you too?" She was livid, but I was so gullible at that age, lol. As a kid my whole extended family would go camping and my great-grandfather would bring a big-ass salt shaker for every kid. When we arrived, he would pass them out to each of us and tell us, if you get salt on a squirrel's tail, it throws off the squirrel's balance and he can't climb the trees anymore. That's how you can catch one and keep it for a pet. Cue all of us running around chasing squirrels with salt shakers trying to catch one of the little fuckers for hours while the adults got to sit around drinking uninterrupted. Never got my pet squirrel. The teachers in my school told us if you pull the fire alarm, ink shoots out on your hands that doesn't wash off for a few days so they know who pulled it. I was 26 when I found out it's all a lie. Edit. As so many people have pointed out, apparently some fire alarms do have ink in them. Ours did not though. So still a lie, I guess. Lost my stuffed animal, a white dog, in the airport in Miami when I was 5. It was my favorite and I was really sad about it. A few weeks later my mom presented me with a brown dog that otherwise looked exactly like the white one I'd lost. She said the workers at the airport had found it and mailed it to us, but he got a tan because he was in Florida. Bought it hook, line and sinker for a few years. Tan dog is now my son's and he's a big fan, smiley face. I could not understand how all the death scenes in war movies seemed so realistic. So, I asked one of my older brothers how they did it. He proceeded to tell me that they empty out state prisons in the area the movie is being made, dress them up and give them guns and tell them that if they survive the filming then they get to leave jail after. I was told that at around 7 and I believed it till I was around 10. As a kid I was told by my parents the penis was a type of plant when I asked why it grew when I showered. That led to me thinking all kids had those, even girls, up until I was 10 to 11. That you could get a ticket for having the light on in your car while driving. That if you sit too close to the TV or computer screen you'll go blind. I was told that during the summer of 5th grade, then got glasses in 6th grade. All I heard was a, told you. As I tried on my first pair of glasses and was told that my sister, 1 year younger, won't need glasses, Bekuase she listened. She got her glasses less than a year later. Lol. Growing up and almost all 30 years of my life, I thought that gingerbread was poisonous. Back in elementary school, we would make gingerbread houses with icing and stuff. My teacher told us do not eat the gingerbread and icing because it is poisonous and you could get really sick. I was like 7 and being a teacher and someone you should listen to, I believed her. Never ate a gingerbread house in my life nor any of the icing believing it was poisonous. At 29 years of age my fiancée and I were making one and she started eating hers and I freaked out. It was then she informed me that the teacher probably said that so she didn't have to have 30 kids hopped up on sugar in her class the rest of the day. I can't believe I was duped that hard and never realized it. I believed dogs understand my words. Yes, some words they grasp. But I spoke freely to them. That my father wrote The Count of Monte Cristo. He had started the book and loved it so much he would read a part, and then retell it to me as if he was the one who had come up with it. When he reached the point that he was it in the book, he would say to be continued while I whined for the rest. This lasted a week and a 1/2. This kid told me that if you tore open an empty box of Marlboros and the hash, read 777, you'd get some kind of prize. My 1978 was spent looking, but no luck. A college nearby has a cougar as its mascot and they sell cougar cheese. It's delicious. My uncles told me long ago that it's made from the milk of cougars. Made sense to me. But, then I got older, early 20s, and I saw a can of that Cougar Gold and wondered how they milked the cougars. And, it hit me like a ton of bricks. You can't just have a cougar milk farm with angry cougars hooked up to milking machines. It just isn't going to fly. I got a chuckle out of the image and realized that I was a grown man who believed that they were milking cougars down at the college and turning it into cheese. Edit. Because it is really good, I'll leave a link here. Saw it's going for over $100 on Amazon when it's like $30 something from their creamery after shipping. This link edit too. If anyone gets that dill garlic one, let me know how it is. I've only ever tried the Cougar Gold. I'm black and my dad is very light-skinned, like to the point where he's actually pale. When I was probably about 5 or so I asked why he was so much brighter than my mom and he told me a bucket of white paint fell on him one day and that's how it happened. He also had me convinced that my older sister went into a hat every day, so I'd peer into a beanie trying to find her when I wanted to play. She was at school. I was probably like 3 when I thought she was hanging out inside a hat for a few hours every day. My kindergarten best friend also convinced me she used to hang out with dinosaurs and rode around on them like a horse. And another friend in first grade convinced me she had short hair because it retracted into her head every day because of the sun. Those are probably the most absurd lies I can remember, but I'm sure there are a million more cause I was a ridiculously gullible kid. My grandpa used to eat weird stuff like Braunschweiger and other weird sausages. My dad told me his dad ate monkey brain sandwiches too. I told that to people for 25 years. Then I said it in front of my dad. He laughed and said he was just kidding. Probably that if someone couldn't see me, then I couldn't see them. It led me to run around with my eyes closed and inevitably break my arm. You can't leave the house after dark because the chupacabra outside will eat you. If you twist your belly button, your butt will fall off. I kind of still believe it. My nana used to tell me not to wipe off the dog's kisses because they would see it and get sad. I still have to turn my head to wipe my face so the dog doesn't see it. That girls didn't poop. My best friend was a girl and she thought it would be funny to get all the girls I knew in on a prank against me. She told every girl I knew, including my teacher, mom, and sister, to tell me that girls didn't poop if I asked. They all went with it for a couple days. I fell for it. Believed it from 5th grade until 9th grade, when my sister forgot to flush. I went in immediately after her and there was 4 years of lies just floating there, mocking me for being so stupid and gullible. My friend thought it was hilarious when I confronted her at school the following day. She couldn't believe I hadn't figured it out. She had also almost forgotten about that prank. That swallowed gum stays in your body for 7 years. I swallowed gum and thought that was the reason I was fat. Yal, this made me so mad. I'm from central Kentucky, and growing up we would always see tons of Ohio license plates on the road. So I asked why that was. My father proceeded to tell me that Ohio had a state law that was basically a curfew. Once Ohio residents leave the state, for any reason, they have a limited amount of time to return. If they don't make it back, they can't re-enter the state. He told me they could return after a long period of time, but I can't remember how long that was, something like months or years, so the Ohio drivers on the road were vagabonds, forever driving the surrounding states until they could go home. He told it so well, and with such conviction, that I believed it until I repeated it to friends in high school and finally realized what a dumbass I was. Well, my grandpa and I went to Forest when I was around 12 years old and one of my cousin came with us too. He was 16 that time and told me that a creature lives in the woods which has male and female genital organs. When it is nighttime it gets out and fucks whatever living thing he grabs. OFC, I didn't believe my cousin. I am not that dumb, but when my grandpa seconds him I cried like a little baby to go home. Rip grandpa, you crazy old fuck. I have 3 that were really dumb. 1. My older brother told me that if you put your Pokemon cards in the microwave then they become real. I started a fire doing this and ruined cards that would now be worth a lot of money. 2. My older brother told me that aliens lived in my shoes. I had the ones that would glow up when you walked. I got scared and never wore them again. 3. My older brother told me that if I wrote down a wish on a kite and flew it up high enough, the ink on the kite would disappear and my wish would come true. I spend hours trying to make this happen. If you liked the video, please consider subscribing and liking. Any feedback in the comments would be greatly appreciated so that we can make these videos even better. Thanks for watching Upvote Stories.